Hi there, I'm Eitan, and welcome back to Wix Wiz. In this video, I'll be showing you how to create an AI-driven Wix chatbot using the native Wix chat and OpenAI. So we'll be creating a chatbot that looks just like this, that can be sent messages by visitors such as, "Hi, how are you?" and then respond using OpenAI's ChatGPT modules with AI-generated content. So if you're interested in creating something like that, let's get started. So first I'm just going to go over my initial setup here, and we won't be starting from zero because we've touched on some of these topics already in previous videos. So what I've done is here inside of my backend files, I have the OpenAI JSW module, and here is just a basic call to the Chat GPT 3.5 Turbo module. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see better. And we get back the response, and we return the message part of the response. So that's what we have set up here. And if you want to learn about how this is built, you can check out some of my previous videos. And what the other function that I have set up is inside this chatbot module. Let me adjust this a little more so you can see better. There we go, inside of this chatbot module. And what we do here is basically we're going to take messages from the front end and attach a system instruction to it and just slice it down to the last 6 messages and send it to get the response from the other function I just showed you before. So those are 2 pre-built functions that I'm going to be using because the main focus of this tutorial will be how to implement the techniques that we've already showed using the Wix chat app. And of course, I also have my API key already set up here inside of the developer tools, here inside the secret manager. So that's everything that we have set up. In terms of documentation, we are going to be using the Wix chat backend in the Velo reference, and we're also going to be using this on message sent, which is part of the chat box element documentation. Okay, so those are 2 things that we're going to be focusing on in terms of documentation. So if you want to have those open and follow along, then that would be a good time to do that. So now let's get started with the actual implementation. And the first step will obviously be to install the Wix chat app if you don't already have it installed on your website. So here inside of the app market, I'm going to search for chat. And here we have the Wix chat app, and it's free to install. I'm just going to go ahead and add it to the site. And now we see that, I'm just going to zoom out. Right over here on the bottom right side, we have the chat icon or chat widget that will initiate a chat when a visitor comes to the site. And there are some settings that you can kind of adjust here. So if we open up settings, you can choose different things in terms of how it's displayed, if it automatically opens, design, text, etc. We're not going to be touching most of this stuff, but we will be touching on some of these aspects as we design our chatbot. So let's go ahead and start with building out the front end. And what our front end is going to do, we're going to be doing this all on the master page, because this is the page that runs code on all the pages of the site. And since this chat widget is on all the pages of our site, we're going to need to control it through here. If you're only showing Wix chat on some of the pages, then this might not be true for you, but I think this is probably the most common use case. And we are going to be firing off a call to our AI when we send a message. Okay, so we have this on message sent event. And once we send the message, so we have a channel ID and we have a message text. And it's important that we are doing this first because a channel ID is only created when a message is sent for the first time from a visitor. Okay, so there's no channel until the visitor sends a message. And let's implement that here on the front end. So I'm going over here and we have Wix Chat. I'm just going to change this to Wix Chat and not Wix Chat 1 because we only have one of these. And I'm going to start writing out the event listener. So Wix Chat dot on message sent. And if we take a look at the documentation, so here we have the message and we have channel ID and message text. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this message. And I'm going to say console.log message, just so that we can take a look and see what this message looks like. This here you'll see the squiggly red line that indicates some kind of error, but you'll see that this will still work regardless of that. I think this might be just some kind of mistake here in terms of the typing in the back end of Wix. So if anybody from the Wix team is watching, might want to take a look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and publish and view site. And here on the bottom right, we can see the chat. So at the moment, it doesn't open automatically, but if I click here and I just say hi, then we get this automatic response from the system. And this is something that you can change from your dashboard. But if we go into inspect here on the side, and we go here into the console, you'll see here that there's an object. This is the message object. So we have the channel ID and we have the payload text hi. Okay, so this is the key information that we're going to be using from this object. So mostly the channel ID and the text. And what we're going to do is that once we get text here from the user, we're going to want to send that text back to our AI endpoint to the API and start creating our conversation. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we are going to create a variable here, which is going to be messages. And this is stuff also that we've touched on in previous tutorials, so it shouldn't be completely new to you. And what we're going to do is we are going to say const. I'm writing a function now that's going to generate a message log. Okay, so const log message, let's call it that. And basically what this is going to do is just generate an object that will be stored here inside of messages. And if you don't remember, the structure here of this object is that it has a role and content. So we're going to say const message equals an object. And here we're going to have role. And this role is going to be determined here. So we're going to say role. And we're just going to pass this into the message. And here we're going to have the content. And that's also going to be passed in here as a parameter. So I can actually just separate these with the comma. And then we are going to messages.push message. Okay, very simple helper function over here. And we're going to call this as soon as a message is sent. So I'm going to say log message, and the role will be user. And these are roles that are defined by the OpenAI documentation. So we have three types of roles. We have system, user, and assistant. And system is the one that I had showed you before, right? This is going to be our system message that really instructs our AI how to behave. And the user is, as it sounds, the user content, the user input to the chatbot, and the assistant is the responses generated back from the AI. And we're going to log the message, and here we want to tap it to message.payload.text, I think it was. Let's just double check that in the documentation. Message.payload.text. Okay, and I'm also going to want to get this channel ID, so I can actually just copy it right over here. And have the channel ID. And since we're actually going to be using this message payload again, I can also extract that and use it as its own variable. So we could just actually copy these two lines. And I'm going to move this log message down. So we're going to log a message, and here I can change this to message text. And now what we want to do is we want to get the response from the AI. So in order to do that, we're going to use this function. So generate bot answer. First step, we're going to need to import this. Import generate bot answer from backend/chatbot. And then I'm going to call it over here. So const answer is equal to, and generate bot answer. And this is going to take a parameter. And if we take a look here at the function that we built, the parameter is the messages. Okay, so we're going to pass in all of the messages. And once we get this answer back, we're going to want to log that message. So I'm going to log message assistant, hope I'm spelling that right, and answer. And okay, so actually, what this answer comes back with, let me just do a short demonstration. So let's run this generate bot answer function, just so that we can see what this answer looks like, because I want you to see it as well. So messages, we know that this is an array, and it has objects, and we have a system message, which will be nice, and sorry, doing this all wrong. Role is system, and content is be nice. And then we have another object, which is role user, and content how are you today? And let's give that a run. OpenAI API cannot be found. Okay, so I think I named it OpenAI key. So let's go ahead and change that over here, OpenAI key. And give it another spin. And here we have the answer that we got back. And here, so this is a console that I have here in OpenAI, but returned with, this is the answer that's generated by the generate bot answer function. And you can see here that it comes already with role and content. So essentially, when I get this answer here in my front end, I don't have to break it up in the log message. I can actually just pass it in as it is, because it's already built with the same structure that I'm expecting here inside of the log message function. So I'm just going to pass in the answer like that. And now we get to the part where we actually start interacting with the back end of the Wix chat. So I'm going to go ahead here, and I'm going to add a new web module. I'm just going to call it Wix chat. And here we're going to be building out the backend. And that is what we have over here. So it's send message. And you can see here that essentially what it does is we give message text and a channel ID. well, that's how they built their function at least. But essentially, what we need to pass in over here is message text, channel ID, and send as visitor, which we'll explain in a moment what that is. In terms of metadata, that is optional. Okay, so we don't have to have optional. We don't have to have send as visitor. Let's just explain for a second what send as visitor means. So it indicates if the message is being sent as a user or as the business. And if it is undefined or false, then it's sent from the business. And that's essentially what we want, okay? Because we want to, the user just sent their message, and we want to send back the AI generated answer as if it's from the business. So that's what we want here. So we're just going to say send as visitor is false. So let's copy over this starter code. And I'm going to head here to the back end. I'm just going to put it over here. And what I'm going to change essentially is we don't need send as visitor and metadata to be passed in. I'm not going to be using metadata. And here I'm just going to write this as false because we're sending it as the business. And here I'm just going to make some changes to make it async await because that's how I like to write out my code. So I'm going to say export async function and const or await Wix chat backend.send message. And then we can have here console.log message sent. And I'm just going to put that inside of a try catch. And here we're just going to say console.log. Okay. And to be honest, it didn't change much changing it to async await. This is just, I like some uniformity in the code. So we're using async await in the front end. We should be using it in the back end as well. And that reminds me actually that this needs to be async. So this is going to be an async function. There you go. And this is still just red because of before, but we should have no issues running this. And now what we want to do is essentially import that generate business, where was I? Wix chat. So we're going to import this send chat message function. And maybe I would change this later on to something else. But for now, I'm just using what we copied over from the documentation. And what we're going to do here is import this on top level from backend slash chatbot. No, sorry, not chatbot, but Wix chat. And then as soon as we get the answer back from the business and we log the answer, I'm going to send that message as if it's from the business. And we're going to do that here using send chat message. And we're going to pass in the text that we want from in that message, which is essentially the text here from the answer. So it's going to be answer.content. And we also need to pass in the channel ID second over here, channel ID. And that should be enough to simulate that the message is coming back from the business. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And let's give it a test spin here. So I'm going to click enter. And let's chat. Who are you? Okay, so I already see we have an error here. R.push is not a function. So let's take a look over here at the editor. Messages. Okay, so this should be messages, like here. So I'm going to go ahead and publish. And refresh over here. And let's try again. Who are you? again. Maybe it didn't refresh because I did change this. Let's change that again. Let's try refreshing. Who are you? Okay, good. So now we're not throwing any error. I guess I just didn't refresh properly last time. And now we're just waiting for a response. I'm an AI assistant designed to provide helpful whatever, based on the instructions that I gave it in the system instructions. What day is it today? And we're waiting for the response. Oh, okay, so I'm getting an error now. Cannot read properties of undefined, reading content. Okay, so that essentially means that this answer came back undefined. So that means we must be having some kind of issue here in our backend. So let's go ahead and take a look at site events. So now that I have my logs open, I'm going to try and send another message. How are you? Okay, let's see. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Is not of type string. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. So let's try and think where our error is coming along here. Generate bot answers messages. Log answer message. Okay, so I think this is where my problem is, because answer comes back. I know I said before that this was the same structure as this, but I was actually lying, because answer comes back as an object, but these are just each parameters. Okay, so this actually does not work at all like I said it would. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say answer.role and answer.content. Okay, and this should solve our issue. So I'm going to go ahead and publish that. And let's chat. Okay, how can I assist you today? I want to buy you. Okay, great. So we're getting a back and forth, and this means that everything is working correctly. As you can see here, just a few things I want to point out. So you can see that for the same user, the chat history is logged. Okay, and that's something that's built into Wix Chat. So if you don't want the history to be saved for each user, then maybe this might not be the right business solution for you. But in general, assuming that this is working correctly, I don't see a downside for people having their previous conversations stored here. It could actually be an upside in some cases. So now I just want to pop into the settings here of the Wix chat. So let's zoom out a little bit. And I want to just switch some things around. So let's just walk through the settings for a second. So if we click here on Manage Chat, this will take us to an area in the dashboard where we can manage some of the aspects of this chatbot. So for example, you can schedule chat hours. You can set things about the pre-chat form. So for example, if I want to collect name or email, I wonder if there's a way also to turn that off. Okay, so business, let's set the identity as business. And let's see, learn more. Let's see if there's a way to turn this off. Okay. Set online form. So let's see. Set online form. When do visitors see the form? Never. Okay, so now you just saw a video of me reading the documentation and figuring something out. And excellent. So let's save those changes because I don't want that form to kind of interrupt the flow of the conversation. You might choose to leave it for your own business purposes. That's your prerogative. So I'm going to close that. And then let's check out some of the other things. So we can change here if the chat will open automatically or if it will show a bubble notification, something like this, where the chatbot is displayed. In terms of design, so header design and text. So for example, my business or website name, I'm going to change to Wix Chat AI. And here we can change offline message, and we can also, there's a way also to set that there will be, okay, chat form automations. Okay, so I can set an automation to greet new visitors with a chat message. And that means that as soon as somebody reaches the website, then they will be greeted with a message. So if you want to set the message that's sent by the business first, then you'll have to do that over here. And you won't be able to do that using the AI modules or the front end because we need the user to send a message before the channel is initiated. So this would be the only way to handle this. And send a chat message, and here we can set it up. So hi there. Let me know if you have any questions about creating an AI chat just like me. Okay, so that's the purpose of my chatbot, and I'm going to go ahead and activate that. And great, now that automation is active. And we're going to have to check this out in an incognito tab because, as I said, these conversations are all stored. So all the changes I had now won't be relevant for my user unless I clear cache or something like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head over to an incognito tab and show you what the changes we made look like.